Welcome to a new round of pain and suffering in the world of Dead Cells. There will be a bit more runs in this part than in the last one, because due to the new difficulties, the attempts started to end rather quickly. Just a reminder, this is a segment where I undertake a set number of runs in the game, striving to achieve something. Intentional deaths are prohibited, even if a run starts off unsuccessfully. I'll make the most out of each attempt and push through to the end. After the first series, I have delved a bit into the theories surrounding Dead Cells. I've only gathered essential information, such as the fact that the fifth cell is provided by the giant skeleton, not the king's right hand. Not on the record. I'm not playing and going through the whole difficult journey of pain with you. If you haven't seen the first part, I highly recommend watching it before diving into this one. And before we start the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, as each of these videos takes about 2 weeks of work. First run after a 2-week break from Dead Cells. Remember the mirror I unlocked in the previous part? Somehow my face appeared in it. Wanted to venture into the cavern and train in that location until it became insanely difficult. So, went to fetch the key to the caverns, opted to play through brutality, bought an item for transforming enemies into elites and obtained a rare blueprint. Unlocked a new bow. For the first mutation, of course, chose Armadillo Pack. The bow turned out to be quite strong, at least in the early locations. Suddenly became very wealthy. An elite scorpion interrupted my killing spree. Bought one of my favorite weapons, a katana, as well as a shield with the best upgrade. Second mutation, necromancy. Not fully accustomed to the controls after the break, accidentally sold the shield I wanted to stash in my backpack. Found a secret shield blueprint beneath a puddle. Explored a new trap and took it with me. Upgraded and reforged all equipment. I can afford it on this run. Took the last mutation for healing after parrying. The fight with the nasty eye was tougher this time. I used up all health potions, but eventually emerged victorious. And here's the first new location for me, the graveyard. Enemies here were new and challenging. Because of them, I was on the brink of death many times. Accidentally unlocked a rare costume. This fat idiot is the main problem for me in this location. Mostly because of it, I was on the brink of ending the run. Applied the key to the entrance to the caverns, but then retreated. Tried to heal from parrying close-range enemy attacks, but only worsened the situation. Almost died due to not knowing the attack mechanics of the new enemy. Upgraded to a stronger bow. Of course, didn't forget to also take damage from traps. In the cavern, I felt like a cornered mouse. Feared every enemy due to not understanding their behavior. And of course, they were all disproportionately strong and fast. I can't even imagine playing here at a higher difficulty, so need to practice now to make it less painful to come here in the future. Tried to kill enemies with traps and parry attacks, but I died when I shouldn't have, killed by a dead enemy. Decided to change my outfit to something more interesting, and thereby improve my gaming skills. This time, I decided to collect a collection of green scrolls, explored the war spear, and decided to run with it for a bit. It seemed like a pretty decent weapon. Of course, by default, I take Armadillo Pack as the first mutation. Threw a blue sphere at a bat, and it turned into a zombie. Unsuccessfully went through the longest obstacle course. Got hit in the face 4 times. Bought Frost Blast, and thereby created a devastating weapon combination. Went to the prison depths location to gather as many scrolls as possible for the boss fight. I just froze and killed. And so until the end of the run, received a blueprint for a very good mutation. No mercy. Didn't use a single healing potion, just like in the previous location. Concierge took so much damage that I started feeling a bit sorry for him. I'm happy that my spear increases its effectiveness as the run progresses, so I don't need to think about where to get new weapons. No one could do anything to me in any of the following locations. I just froze and destroyed everything living. Bought a new Frost Blast, and a minute later found a legendary Frost Blast. Unlocked the mutation for executing enemies with less than 15% health. Replaced Vengeance with No Mercy. Had to deal with the Timekeeper, but fortunately, she didn't deal much damage, and the fight ended with my victory. Improved the chance of finding items with 1+ sign to 45%. Didn't use a single potion in the castle. Now, the most interesting part, the boss. The Hand of the King is a very agile enemy, so traps and freezing were very helpful in the battle. The fight was quite challenging, to be honest, but I didn't let him lower my health below half. But the problem remained the same. I don't know how to dodge his attacks, but in the end, I destroyed him with my spear, which is probably the reason for winning this run. And finally, on to the next stage of the game, which means a new level of pain and suffering. Activated 2 boss stem cells. From other locations came old enemies, as well as new ones. One of them is this fat idiot with axes and a shield. Because of him, I almost caught depression on the first location. where I already had to use 2 healing potions. Died on the second floor due to a pile of enemies. So here's the new stage of the game. Wonderful. At the beginning of the 29th run, I was lucky to get Frostblast. Once again, I increased my survival. In the transition after the first location, the entrance to the bank appeared. Previously, it could appear much later. In the last episode, I didn't manage to see anything because I died almost immediately in this location. This time, I killed myself by throwing a blue orb at an enemy and turning it into the cause of my death. There's no limit to my brilliance. An interesting 30th run. Of course, I'm leveling up my survival and collecting green scrolls. Found a broadsword on the ground. Almost died several times because of this slow weapon. Got a blueprint for a new weapon. We'll try it out in the next run. Of course, the first mutation is for shield parrying from the backpack. Picked up a heavy crossbow, and this weapon became key in this run. The satisfaction of one-shots was incredible. Enemies just disintegrated in milliseconds. Explored another wonderful item that works great with the heavy crossbow. Chose No Mercy as the second mutation. Now it's part of my build. Again, I have to say how satisfying it was to destroy everyone with a single shot, but I found the weakness of this crossbow, namely slimes and their spawner. Again, new enemies that didn't seem like a threat, but I'm not sure if their attacks can be parried. From the boss, I tore off whole chunks. The damage per shot was so high that I only needed about 10 charged shots. In the village, everyone was torn to pieces, even the tough pirates. Switched grenades for traps, thereby completing my perfect build. Almost died in the tower because I got distracted and couldn't react to a fast idiot in time. In the shop, there was a war spear. Really wanted to swap it for the crossbow, but this run is dedicated to the heavy crossbow. The elite guy with axes died before he could even wake up. The timekeeper also took a lot of damage, but it was difficult to hit her. Had to catch the moments when she stood still in front of me for a second. My crossbow already had 27,000 critical damage. These are record numbers in my gaming experience. I was confident in my victory over the Hand of the King, but my mistakes and problems with this boss didn't disappear. I couldn't keep track of his attacks, and couldn't figure out what they were doing and how to avoid them. I just rolled and spammed attacks, hoping for luck. I simply don't understand what's happening on the screen. There are too many special effects that make it hard to track the boss. And also, I just don't understand when I can drink healing potions. As soon as I heal, a second later, I take even more damage, and my health is back to minimum. Of course, with this approach to the battle, I won't get far, and I didn't deserve the victory. But still, there were quite a few swear words in my apartment in those 5 seconds. Need to take a break. At the beginning of the 31st run, a tentacle crawled up to me and handed me a scroll with a message. In the previous run, I unlocked the ability to choose entire sets of items at the start, instead of just a few things. Again, I took the heavy crossbow, but this time it didn't feel very enjoyable to play with. Decided to try playing in the DLC locations. There await me new enemies, bosses, blueprints, challenges, and, of course, a lot of pain and tears. From the very first small enemy, I unlocked the Mushroom Boy blueprint. The big mushroom throws little mushrooms at me. I grew to hate this location a lot because of the spikes that blend in with the terrain. Of course, didn't forget to run into them several times. The crossbow is not working for me at all. I need to change something. Towards the end of the location, I ran out of flasks. Explored a huge axe and a freezing bow, as well as a new skill. It seemed to me that this was a very strong combination, so I went to test my theory. This huge flea quickly showed me that I was wrong, and this axe was not meant for boss battles. 30-second run. Lost all my health and nerves because of this stupid weapon. Found a legendary skill and took another weapon. Got killed by the flea when she herself had no health left. Found my favorite weapon at the beginning, and I finally started enjoying the game. Sent the new locations to hell and went to obtain the third boss cell. Died in the dumbest way possible. I didn't even understand how it happened. Again, I took the axe. I don't understand why I'm always drawn to it. It's impossible to play with this slow weapon without freezing. Throughout the entire run, all I did was get hit in the face by fast mobs. Not even the frying pan helped. Nevertheless, the first location was completed with full health and flasks. In the toxic sewers, I was bitten by flying ticks without any modesty. I mean, just look at this absurdity. Took the ice bow, hoping it would be easier to play with, but of course not. Found my favorite spear, and thought that would be the end of the suffering. Encountered a fat octopus in a room, and had a chat with him. For the first time, I went to the intermediate and optional location, Corrupted Prison. Unlocked the Owl skill. At first, it seemed like a pretty good companion, but then I realized I wouldn't be using it anymore. The only enemy that annoyed me in the location was the bluebird. Died on the next floor in the dumbest way possible. I didn't manage to jump onto the ledge and got my butt blown up. Spent all my flasks on the first floor and for some reason decided to go to the bank. Since the run was already unsuccessful, why not make the situation even worse? Don't understand what's wrong with this location, but this is already the third time I've come here and died to the first enemies. The start of the 36th run was perfect. I got the ideal combination of my favorite weapons right from the start. And a bit later, I even found a legendary war spear. It was just unreal luck. I already felt the victory. Took a new mutation that heals me if I'm under a speed buff. But in practice, the healing wasn't as significant. I just wanted to follow the usual route to get the third boss cell. But please tell me, what demon inside my head told me that going to the new location with that huge flea would be a good idea? Of course I killed it, but then I encountered a new enemy, and to top it off, it was elite right away. That scum just killed me mentally and physically, both in the game and in real life. Seems like I'm starting to get depressed from this game. I need to take a break. Of course, I didn't take any break and immediately started the 37th run. Again, I took that damn axe, and again, I'm taking all the hits from the small and fast idiots. Unlocked Flashing Flast. It's a weak weapon that parries enemy projectiles. Useless thing. Almost every run, I buy the blue orb and get new blueprints from enemies. Died from a freaking slime. Now I'm sure it's time to take a break from the game. I need a couple of hours or days of peace from all of this. Before the 38th run, I took a short break to eat and improve my mood. Decided to start with changing my outfit, as it's a crucial step in every run. Opted for starting items with frost weapons. Then made a mistake and picked up one of the worst weapons. By the second stage, I stopped believing I would get far in this run, because I had to freeze enemies 3 times while poking them with this dagger, which dealt very little damage. Also had a funny incident when I used the blue orb, but didn't get another item to extract the blueprint from the elite enemy. But in the shop, I found the solution to all my problems because I bought my spear. Once again assembled the necessary build to make myself clap with joy and enemies cry. Went to the prison depth to gather more scrolls. Finished collecting mutations in my build with the last but not least important mutation, execution. Encountered hedgehogs in the ossuary several times and almost killed myself. Very unpleasant idiots. But smart use of food dropped by enemies gave me an advantage later on. Went to the boss with full health and a full flask. However, the concierge forced me to drink 2 flask charges. The main thing is I defeated him. Invested all cells into upgrading the legendary forge and almost filled the first bar. In the village, found an entrance to the house where, unexpectedly, a huge spider resided. Defeating it was no problem, and after the battle, a small copy of the spider crawled out. It shamelessly climbed into my inventory, replacing my traps. Well, I couldn't leave it behind. It was so cute, and it was legendary. Had so much food, and I healed from mutations so quickly that I had to sell a chicken leg. Updated Frost Blast and War Spear in the shop, and in the transition, reforged and upgraded them further. The fight with the Timekeeper always follows the same strategy. We just bombard each other with fast attacks and wait until one of us dies. But this time, I wasn't alone. I had a friend, Leg Hugger. After the victory, this Pokemon evolved from a small spider into a huge tarantula, and will remain so until the end of the run. It's interesting what provoked the appearance of this new form. Further upgraded the legendary forge in the transition. My spider pet killed the elite enemy solo. I just watched and took the key. Didn't use a single flask charge throughout the entire location, and I'm heading to the boss with full health and a full flask. Had excellent effects on my weapons. I dealt 30% more damage to slowed enemies, and Frost Blast had that same slow effect. And finally, the boss, the Hand of the King. I still haven't learned to dodge his attacks, but sometimes I manage to parry them. The boss dealt relatively little damage to me, while I dealt quite a lot to him. In any case, I didn't let my health drop below half and used up all the potions. And in the end, my pet finished off the Hand of the King, and the execution mutation helped with that. Finally got Stem Cell 3 on the 38th run. Only pain and suffering await me next, or rather, they will just intensify. Perhaps someone didn't notice the similarity, but I took the second and third cells in the same outfit and with the same set of weapons, not counting the new pet instead of the trap. I think it's not a coincidence. Here comes the new difficulty and new constraints. War Spear at the start. Among the new challenges, I can notice that there are too many enemies now. They move in groups of 5, and without some kind of mass damage, dealing with them will be difficult. Struggled to extract a rare blueprint from the knight and lost it. I wasn't expecting to advance far in this run. The 40th run didn't get recorded. I just died on the second floor with a heavy crossbow in my hands. Decided to remove all boss cells to finally check out the additional content. Once again, starting with the War Spear, a good sign. It felt somehow uncomfortable and shameful to kill everyone without taking any damage. I didn't even use potions until the last moment, although they fully restore later. That's how much I've gotten used to the simple gameplay. Sold the big medkit to have enough for buying a blue orb, and for some reason, decided to break a door. It seems that after 40 runs, I still haven't figured out the controls, or I'm just a fool. Of course, I died from spikes I didn't even see. Best run ever. Another run without cells, and once again, the War Spear in the starting loadout along with Frost Blast. This is definitely a winning combination, especially on the easy difficulty. Died from the claws of an overgrown tick, which I, to top it all off, made elite. That's it, I need another break, urgently. Alright, since the game doesn't want it to be easy for me, I'll do it the usual way. Decided to play through brutality this time, as survival got boring. Bought the spider pet, and will travel with it. It was tough playing with the heavy crossbow, because there were too many enemies, and it focused on only one target. Got a legendary pistol from the elite zombie. Explored the magnetic grenade. The pistol became one of my favorite weapons. It pushed back and stunned enemies, always dealt critical and mass damage. But it had a short range, which was hard to get used to. The combination of the magnetic grenade and this weapon seemed pretty good to me. Didn't like the magnetic grenade after all, so I replaced it with the cleaver. The dilapidated Arboretum location drained all my flask charges. I'll never go there again. You're your own enemy in that location. And now, see how I got revenge on the huge tick for the interrupted runs it caused. This build simply left it no chance. It didn't even hit me once. Finally made some progress in this expansion. The enemies here were straightforward, except for the claw monster, but even I stunned and killed it before it started its attack combo. Played very cautiously due to the lack of flasks and mutations, and occasional food saved me. Found a huge room with nothing in it. I don't like this, and I'm tired of it already. Had a chance to buy my favorite weapon, but I still kept the pistol. Another tick, killed it without any problems, but got hit once. Reached the altar and the talking tree. Finally reached the main boss of this expansion, Mama Tick. The fight was boring and not difficult, but I want to separately mention her claw attacks, which were impossible to dodge. They were too fast. I had to endlessly roll, hoping for luck, but fortunately, these claws didn't do much damage. In the end, I still killed this local queen of idiots. I had only a few hits left. It was very risky to go without flasks to the new boss with a lot of cells, but I managed to deliver them and upgrade the legendary forge. Got the first flask for the entire run and immediately used it. I completed the Bad Seed expansion and immediately moved on to the next one, Fatal Falls. The location immediately put me in an uncomfortable state. At the very beginning, I got a couple of hits to the face from damn traps, wanted to check what the pressure plate on the ground was, and deeply regretted it. Found salvation in the cook, picked up some new outfit, and remembered that you can do this. I can't change back now, so I'll have to continue like this. Death was only one or, at best, 2 hits away. Awakened some mini-boss and quickly killed it. If it hit me once, it would have been the end. Behind him was a passage with 3 legendary items to choose from. Without hesitation, I took the heavy crossbow as the pistol had become weak. Another golem, but there was nothing in the room behind it except for part of the plot. Unfortunate. Almost reached the end of the location, but at one point, when I wanted to stun the enemy with a jump, my character decided to skip the platform and fly into the abyss. And of course, a crow, trap, and mage cornered me from all sides, and that's the end of the run. Now I can definitely say that this is the most unpleasant and infuriating location. 44th run. The crowd of enemies got on my nerves. The heavy crossbow is useless here. Run 45. Once again, the heavy crossbow and stun grenade combo. Seems like a good setup. Headed into the 3rd area with an empty flask. Died in the ossuary. 46 run. Heavy crossbow again, which I'm getting tired of. On the 3rd cell, it can't handle it anymore. Picked up some legendary bow because I wanted something new. Used up all the potions in the 2nd area and died in the 3rd biome. Once again, the heavy crossbow was in the starting kit, but I'm fed up with it. Playing with slow weapons is not the best idea either. Swapped the slow sword for an even slower axe. Got killed by an elite moron in the 1st area. Opted for Frost Blast in the starting kit because it's hard to find or replace. Of course, a few minutes later, I find another one. explored some weapons because the previous one was complete garbage, picked up a bow, which was also garbage, but at least I could shoot idiots from a distance now. Finally, some progress, left the second area with a full flask charge, but spent it at the beginning of the next one. Bought a war spear, but I wasn't in the mood to play anymore, and the flask was already empty. Almost killed myself on a moron with spikes on his back. And yet I died. I'm slowly tilting. Can't play anymore. Need a break. Started the 49th run with the war spear. My goal now is to go to the caves and practice in that area. Toxic sewers were traversed very carefully and slowly. Got an amulet that allows health regeneration while in toxins. Fantastic. Had to even sell a medkit, which I usually keep until the end. Took a risk opening a cursed chest in the corrupted prison, and slowly removed the curse with bombs. Decided to take the mutation Heart of Ice for the first time. Enjoyed healing baths and toxins and the refuse of this world. I felt good. The tentacles are just an inadequate enemy that shouldn't be in this game. Found a secret but didn't understand how to reach the pressure plate at first. Found the legendary laser glaive. Later realized it's really a great weapon. Took another break for water procedures. Returned to the puzzle because I guessed how to solve it. It took some effort to first reach the pressure plate, and then I had to navigate an even bigger maze to get the blueprint. It took quite some time, sold my amulet because there won't be toxins in the next locations. Used one charge of the flask because of the stupid tentacle faces. It's just impossible to keep track of them. The graveyard was an unpleasant location, but overall problems occurred because of my mistakes. Just look at this clumsy idiot that I am. Bought a flask charge from the cook for 20,000. Reached the caverns. Reminder, I'm still using the same weapon from the beginning of the game. The first encounter was with a stone bear. I thought it was the scariest enemy in this location, but I was wrong. Those damn birds. It's like Satan himself added them to this game. I can't express in words how much I hate them. In this biome, I only took damage from these blue roosters. At the same time, the bear isn't much of a threat. It just kills itself with its own projectiles. Didn't expect such a setup. Then I set myself up again. Bought a new spear, but it didn't cheer me up because my health indicated this run would soon end. Updated my grenades and moved on, reforged my gear. And finally, I reached that skeleton. The beginning of the fight was the end. It felt like I lost control of my character, and I was just bombarded with crap. What the hell was that? On the milestone 50th run, the game gave me the crappiest starting sets to choose from. Continued to level up in survival, although I wasn't sure if I would get any green weapons. Found a hammer, but then bought a spear a few seconds later. Almost made it through the second location without taking damage, but then this happened, and then that. Followed by this. A minute later that, and ultimately this. Found the Philosopher's Stone and got rich. Bought the golden outfit from the special shop. Lost a lot of health and nerves while trying to extract a blueprint from the knight. Bought a spear. Blew up my own butt. Found the legendary vampire killer, but never used it once because I bought the Frost Blast. Headed into the next location with an empty flask. Explored new powers. Death. Started off with the Assassin's Dagger and remembered a build I recently saw, but I haven't explored the main skill yet. First, I almost got killed by scorpions. Then, an elite worm almost ended this run. And then some idiot with claws contributed to emptying my flask. And here comes the skill that teleports behind enemies. And thanks to the Assassin's Dagger, I'll be delivering devastating backstabs. In theory, it all sounded great, but in practice, at least I was killing those blue roosters faster than they could do anything. Tweaked the skills a bit, and the build seems to be working for me. Just need to get used to it. But no build can fix my clumsy hands or protect me from those stupid spikes. There's nothing more for me to do in this run. 53rd run. Picked up the flint and effortlessly cleared rooms of various nasties. Found the legendary wolf trap, but it had a modification for double damage to me, which I didn't notice. Managed to finish the first location successfully. My achievement display froze on the screen for a while, then disappeared. It started again after a minute. Bought ice armor, and died because I was trying to save flasks. On the 54th run, there was a chance to try the build with critical hits to the back again. But while I wanted to assemble the necessary set, the game squeezed the last desire to play out of me. There was neither health nor charges left in the flask. I visited the cook, and he gave me a little more life. The war spear dealt a lot of damage, and I would like to call this run successful, but I won't be able to go far without taking damage. Nevertheless, I reached the boss, and he pinned me to the wall with his aura. -2 charges of the flask on the first floor. Explored the massive weapon resembling a tombstone. I think it will pair well with freezing. Witnessed the full power of this weapon as I buried half the floor. The flask emptied out already on the second floor, and met an awkward demise. The starting kits are crap, an equally crappy death from an elite Wolverine. The 57th run was the most interesting in a while. At the start, picked up a spear with a good upgrade. Of course, playing through survival again. It's the most effective strategy for me. Managed to smoothly exit the first location, retaining health and a full flask. Even unlocked the reward door. Found an excellent ruby amulet. Opted for ice armor instead of traps. In theory, it should save my life multiple times if I remember to activate it. Used 1 flask charge on the second location. Another flask down on the third, with less than half health remaining. My flask emptied on conjunctivius. After the victory, got the blueprint for the most useful mutation, essential for runs on the 4th and 5th cells. Invested all cells into the legendary forge. Got through the graveyard without major issues, aided by grenades and ice armor. Discovered a secret door with a blueprint, but unsure how to open it. Took the risk to open the cursed chest, carefully stunning enemies and removing the curse. Bought a health flask from the chef and restored my health before heading to the caverns. Prepared for another round of face-offs with enraged roosters. Decided to change weapons since my spear, which I picked up at the beginning of the run, wasn't coping well with the new enemies. Opted for a powerful grenade with 2 additional bonuses instead of the old stun grenade. Later found a heavy crossbow, realizing it was the perfect weapon for this location. No one could touch me, not even the birds with their speedy attacks. Witnessed for the first time the attack of the guy in lava boots, as previously I always killed him before he could say anything. Unexpectedly, a legendary pistol dropped from a rooster. Since it's one of my favorite weapons, I grabbed it. It's even more enjoyable to kill with it than with the crossbow. Didn't even leave a chance for the elite Pokemon to react and uncovered another legendary item, though I didn't need it. Heading to visit the giant with full health and 2 flask charges. Now I know how he'll behave. Got hit too often because I couldn't parry his punches in time. His main problem was the fireball attacks when he corners me between his laser eyes. The second phase wasn't as difficult as the first. Actually, the boss is even easier than the timekeeper, but need a bit more practice to lose less health. Wished each other good mood at the end of the fight. Dropped a unique weapon, Giant Killer. Given the choice to go to the castle or straight to the hand of the king, decided it was best to go straight for the boss. Got 2 scrolls, but unfortunately, no flask. Dodged the boss's attacks as best as I could, but still, his moves catch me off guard, and if I had at least 1 health flask, I could have defeated him. If you believe in patterns, the 58th run should have ended quickly, because after a long run, the next few attempts are usually horrendous. But this run will surprise you, as it surprised me. At the start, got my war spear. Of course, playing through survival again. Want to replicate the combination from the last run. Need to find stun grenade and ice armor. Bought the first skill at the beginning of the run. Ate and finished the first location with full health and a flask. Picked up the gastronomy mutation, and minutes later found a cake, vividly demonstrating that due to the mutation, I can now restore 25% health instead of 15. Was close to death because I got a bit distracted from the game. Until the end, saving flasks because I'm hoping to find good food. Went to the corrupted prison and opened the cursed chest. Carefully removed the curse using bombs and ice armor. Found cheese and restored health almost to maximum. Still, I did the right thing not using the potion earlier. Killed 1 bird without taking damage, but on the second, got hit once due to my clumsiness. Some unpredictable enemy. Suddenly got bitten by a rat on the back, and then I didn't notice the ninja's swing. Found stun grenade and almost finished building my setup. Found a legendary fire grenade and sold it. The tentacle and mushroom. The worst enemy combination. They ruined my mood to continue playing. Was again on the brink of death because of a bunch of enemies that confused me. Had to retreat and already spent the 3rd flask charge for this location. Because of this, I lost faith in this run, and I was sure it would end soon. To my surprise, I killed the boss, almost without taking damage. More precisely, I even managed to restore a bit of health. Forged the new spear that dropped from the eye. Bought 1 healing flask, and bought Frost Blast. Now my perfect build is ready, but I'll change it soon. Opened the cursed chest, but there were no enemies left on the location. Restored health with a carrot, and had to sell the second one because I passed through the graveyard so well that I rarely took damage. Removed the curse again, carefully using skills. And again, these damn birds. Didn't notice that I collected 4 scroll fragments and quickly pressing buttons, accidentally chose tactics. Parried the knight's attack, but still got hit. How did that even happen? Accidentally discovered that, turning into slime, I could also hit the enemy, but it didn't make me any smarter. Found a very good shield in the chest and threw it into my backpack. Bought a new ice armor of the 10th level with excellent properties. Explored the unique weapon, Giant Killer. The essence of this weapon is that it deals weak damage to regular enemies and insanely huge damage to elite creatures and bosses. Forged and upgraded my gear, going to the giant skeleton with Giant Killer, Frost Blast, Stun Grenade, Ice Armor, and a shield with plus 300% damage from parrying. Can't believe I have a full flask with a potion and a fully filled health bar. Just look at this unreal damage. I deal 150,000 critical damage. It's just incredible. Even more incredible is that I dodged all attacks very skillfully and parried some. This is only my 3rd time facing this boss, but it feels like I've killed him 100 times already. Of course, I managed to defeat him without even using a flask, and almost without losing health. Before facing the Hand of the King, changed mutations. Some are already useless, and I need to choose mutations that will help the most in battle. Just in case, drank a potion, I don't want to take risks. The fight with the boss also surprised me. I dodged many attacks and dealt devastating damage. I drank only 1 potion when I almost died after a combination of blows. And now, dealing 100,000 damage, I finish off the Hand of the King and get that coveted 4th cell. I just stared at it for a minute and couldn't believe I did it. Placed the 4th cell into the flask and read the new complications. How can one even play like this? Changed the outfit to the one that dropped from the giant. Was a bit surprised, more like completely shocked, when the knight teleported to me. If the strategy through survival works, why not continue playing through this branch? Encountered a new huge enemy with a drill instead of a hand. Seems relatively weak. Had a funny fight with an elite Wolverine. I couldn't reach him with my short daggers, and he couldn't hit me. By the way, about elite monsters, they seem to appear quite frequently now. Another feature of the new difficulty is large groups of enemies, even more than on the 3rd cell. I know that the 5th cell drops from the giant skeleton, so I'm planning to repeat the path of the last run. Couldn't find decent weapons, so I took a whip. Of course, the first mutation is gastronomy. Found food right at the beginning and another one a minute later. No particular problems on the location, except for elite enemies and my maximum failure. Had to drink 1 flask, and again, almost died, but ate a drumstick and felt betters. Although I liked the whip, I took my favorite spear and Frost Blast. Encountered a tough elite rooster that was shielded and turned invisible. That's a strong combination indeed. The biggest problems awaited me in the ancient sewers. Not even the food that I often found could save me. My run was ruined by damn mushrooms. I can't even see them, or their attacks. What a stupid creature. Found a room referencing the Dark Souls series again. Didn't I find one like this in the first part? Bought Giant Killer. Thought it would help me defeat Conjunctivius, but I made a huge mistake. Changed mutations to increase the chances of winning, but it didn't help at all. I was dealing quite little damage to the boss, or maybe it just seemed that way to me. But in any case, I couldn't hit the tentacles with this weapon. They simply annihilated me, and I lost over 400 cells, and a bit more of my nerve cells. Decided to take a break from the hardships, pain, and trials. Removed all cells to play the add-ons. Managed to complete the first location without taking any damage. Explored the Scythe Claw. I knew it was a slow weapon, so I didn't take it before, but now I can have a bit of fun. Except for this, and also this. I also passed the second location without taking damage. The tick died without even understanding anything, and I didn't have time to extract the blueprint from it using the extractor. It's okay, I'll have another try. The weapon is too slow, it's very difficult and dangerous to play with it, especially on higher difficulties. You can't even take Frostbite in the other hand, because this weapon occupies 2 slots. Again, a giant tick, and this time, I managed to wrench Buzuki from its paws. If not for the inadequate attacks of the Tick Queen, which are impossible to dodge, I would have killed her without losing any health. Again, this damn location. I've been here only once, but I hate it the most. All the damage I received was because of stupid traps or falling from heights. Found a cook, who was practically useless in this playthrough. Got a funny and pleasant achievement. Barely made it to the end with low health and an empty flask. Unusual discovery of a passage to the next biome. Didn't understand what was happening here. Do these idiots in red resurrect them or something? Need to change weapons urgently, otherwise this run will end prematurely. found a huge room that didn't contain anything useful, kicked one of the 3 doors, and apparently I guessed right. Inside was the blueprint of something incomprehensible. Is this a torture chamber? Although the location is a bit unpleasant, I reached the end more or less intact and healthy. Ahead was only one passage to the mausoleum. Here, of course, I was met by the Scarecrow boss. I wouldn't say he was difficult, rather unpleasant and inconvenient, or maybe I just haven't gotten used to him yet. But in any case, on the 3rd or 4th cell, I wouldn't have defeated him. An unusual passage somewhere, jumped off a cliff and found an old acquaintance. He transported me to the next location. I ended up in the infested shipwreck. Apart from the strong armored shrimp, there's nothing difficult here. It's just that the location is quite large, and during this time, you can lose a lot of health and flasks. Collected 4 pieces of the map, and a cross appeared on my map. But first, I finally updated my weapon. The past one was starting to annoy me. Here I was, awaited by a treasure with a key. Earlier, I saw where this key could be inserted. Behind the door was a pedestal with a trident, which I took for myself. The weapon is interesting and specific, but I'm unlikely to use it. Well, here's the final location, lighthouse. Entered the room and accidentally set it on fire. Some idiot got angry with me, and I had to run away from her up the lighthouse. We stopped to rest and fight, and I defeated her, but it wasn't the end yet. Again, running away from her, I met another creature. In the end, I was running away from both of them, and then fighting them at the same time. Even after this victory, it wasn't the end. Climbing up again, I met a 3rd enemy, but this time, while running away, I got stuck several times because I couldn't understand where to go next. I wasn't allowed to heal, and the last run in this series ended on a sad note, right before the finale. Perfectionists are probably furious because I'm definitely still annoyed, but this isn't the end of the game yet. I'll definitely come back here. After 60 runs and over 50 hours in Dead Cells, I managed to reach the 4th cell. Whether this is a good result or not is up to you. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I didn't expect to even reach the 3rd cell, but it turned out much better than I anticipated. Most of the runs threw me off course. A string of unsuccessful attempts simply made me step back from the game and take a breather. But in the end, victory awaits me, overshadowing all past struggles and granting me pleasure and the feeling that I'm not a failure. The speed at which the next part comes out, or whether it comes out at all, depends on you. If you want to see more, be sure to let me know. Well, I bid you farewell for now, until we meet again.